This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
If you want to chime in what's happening to your favorite KFAN shows, you can make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. So let us know what you have to say by texting that message to 64686. That is 64686. Standard text message and date rate supply.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got some confirmation that down in Egan, the host is arriving. Indeed. So a shorty here, and then we will pause, and we will bring the host of 9 to Noon in, to do his thing and to kind of recap how we saw it through the Vox's eyes, binoculars, and how he felt the vibe at Soldier Field last evening. A couple of talkbacks, though. Thanks again via the free iHeartRadio app. Let's listen.
Hey, Nordo.
Hey.
Quick situational question for you.
Uh-oh.
Great idea for KOC to have Chandler bring it out in that last kickoff to get us under the 2-minute warning and basically take a timeout away for the Bears. But my question is, if Chandler would have just ran around in the end zone to burn the clock and then taken the knee to get the touchback and bring the ball out to the 40, would that have counted, or how does that work? Do you know? Skol Vikes.
Yeah, in terms of, obviously, so quarterback drops back in the end zone. Gives himself up. That's clearly a safety. That's a problem. I believe as long as a player buys himself time, does not give himself up, which I believe he is apt to do, or fair catch signal, etc., that he would be able to keep it active. That is a great question in terms of the functionality of it. That is why he brought it out. Is, hey, we want to burn a few extra seconds and get it to the 2-minute warning. Smart play, by the way. And there was kind of some cool video elements. People were looking at it, where in the moment KO is waving and begging, is begging Chandler to come out of the end zone. You see Miles Price, kind of the up man in that situation. He sees KO doing that, and then the entire team, the coach is waving him out. Let's go. If he could have just danced around in the end zone for a few seconds and effectively got to the same place, maybe to your point of, he puts himself in a bit of peril, potentially, fumble and just the opportunity for things to go the wrong way on contact on a tackle. I don't have the answer for you. I believe he would be potentially allowed to just kind of dance around and find their way to the 2-minute warning that way. But I admit, I'm not completely sure in terms of how they call that thing dead.
Hey, Nordo, always love it when you step in for PA. This is John from Inver Grove Heights. Just want to say that the Vikings looked pretty good in that second half last night, but how good are they going to look when they get Addison back, when they get Darisaw back, when they get the Hitman back?
Yeah.
Holy moly, we got a juggernaut on our hands. I'm thinking Super Bowl. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I was so excited doing Fan Line last night that I probably took it longer than I should have, almost 1 a.m., and the program director was in bed and probably wondering why I was still on the radio. I couldn't help myself last night. Just what I saw from McCarthy in the fourth quarter, what I saw defensively as we've kind of chronicled over the first hour and change here, just what we saw after that first drive. And Ben Johnson and the Bears, the head coach has waited for this debut for a while. Caleb looks smooth, man, 6'6". He's using his legs, gets into the end zone with his feet, and just kind of knife through butter. And you're just thinking, okay, well, this is this defense here, this Hargrave and Allen thing. What's that about? And then it stabilized. Mentioned the discipline of the rush lanes, and when you forced Caleb Williams to just be a QB, that's all you can do. And this isn't backyard football. You're actually going to have to stand in there and make plays. He clomped around and he wilted. So good to see there from the defensive standpoint. Yes, the chemistry that JJ built with Jordan Addison was real. It was tangible. Jordan Addison, I'll get PA in the mix next segment here. Jordan Addison, if you were to say offensive MVP or best player, that's the better way to put it. The MVP, that's dumb. Best player in camp, maybe offensively, you could say that was Jordan Addison. Best defensive player in camp. You could say it was Javon Hargrave. Well, Javon Hargrave got his first opportunity last night to prove it. Did he prove it? Holy cats. And now, yes, in a few weeks, you're going to get Jordan Addison back. And that's going to be exciting. Naylor had a couple of nice moments last night. I think, that wasn't the most egregious pass interference penalty I've ever seen on him. But I guess we'll take it, right? But Naylor had a couple of spots. Thielen showing up. That, how long is that going to take for him to truly grow? He had that catch last night that he dropped. He was hit pretty hard. I think one of the safeties stepped in on him. Really wanted that. I think it was a third down. So getting healthy. Hitman, talking about that last segment. Just again, ambiguity around the situation, but continually being told that he's going to be ready to rock. That this is not a long lingering problem, and I'm just kind of going to cling to that until I hear things or see reporting to the contrary. But yes, ride that vibe on a Tuesday morning. I mean, in the end, we gotta chill out a little bit. Let's go decaf maybe one day this week and start thinking about Michael Penix Jr. and Bijan Robinson and maybe no Drake London. That's interesting. And the Falcons on Sunday Night Football at US Bank Stadium. How about this? Do you want to stack anything more on the back of your young QB making his debut? He's got to go Monday night division rivalry game at Soldier Field. Then he comes back Sunday night with potentially a young good QB from his class, highlight running back. Defense can make some plays at times. Well, by the way, in week 3, no big deal. Yeah, you got Burrow, so you might have to win a shootout. Oh, and then you're going to have to spend the next 10 days overseas. Is there anything else that they want to stack at the doorstep of J.J. McCarthy? Well, whatever they do, I will say, as bad as it looked at times, it felt like he was very much game for the challenge, and he came through last night at Soldier Field. Let's chat about that with PA next.
Vikings football is back, and we've got your shot at tickets to Sunday's game by showing us your purple preset. Set KFAN as a preset on the iHeartRadio app. Screenshot it. Post it with the hashtag KFAN purple preset to your social media. Make sure you follow and tag KFAN as well. Winners will be DM'd this Friday. Get full rules. KFAN.com keyword contest.
Oof, it's a mouthful, Brett. 1024. Thank you as always to our listeners for lifting me up when my brain doesn't work. You always come through via the text line. 5 or 6 texters answering a talkback from last segment. Chandler, does he have to come out of the end zone? Can he just dance around and chill with it? Well, he has to come out of the end zone because the clock won't start. So again, appreciate when my brain does not compute. You listeners always come through 9 to noon. Speaking of coming through, welcome back, courtesy of Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center in Eagan. Late but safe travels ultimately from Chicago back to the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area. The host of 9 to Noon is joining me now. PA, good morning, my friend. I hope you got a couple hours of sleep, brother, because I know, when it comes to organizing certain flights and we're trying to get out of Chicago, which is a cluster as it is at any time, anywhere. Welcome back and good morning. And how was the victory last night? How was the vibe out there with our favorite team?
Yo, what's up, brother? And thanks for picking up for the first nearly half of the show. The locker room after the game was reminiscent of what you would see when J.J. McCarthy ran in that touchdown. So J.J. gets in around the right side on the keeper, and if you watch closely, I mean, they sprinted down to be with that kid, and they just kept coming at him in waves. And then in the locker room, it's the way people talk about him, and the way Aaron Jones talks about him, the way Justin Jefferson walks around with his arm around him, and the way Kevin O'Connell talks about him, and I bet you does at 11 o'clock today. It's already to the point where they'll lay on swords for that guy. I mean, there are so many things that go into it. And as this develops and matures, we'll start to learn more of the nuance of what goes into exactly what I'm talking about, more so than the fact that, he's 22 years of age and he turned 22 in January. So what? We're just a little bit over 22 and a half.
Yeah.
The magnetic nature of his personality is quite engaging, but a lot of people know that. but there's something about McCarthy when things go wrong compared to when things go right, and how in a routine based industry where, remaining creatures of habit and sticking to a routine, generally speaking, all the greats in the history of being great in this sport mention that. And McCarthy's that guy. But he's young, and there's a vivacious nature to his personality, where these older guys, these veterans, like Ryan Kelly, all right, the center Ryan Kelly, 10th year from Alabama.
Yeah,
he's just been here a little bit, but he's seen a lot in a decade of football. And I'm walking around the locker room last night, and McCarthy's talking to somebody, and Kelly's listening. And he just starts smiling. It was like, think of your daughters, Ava and Stella, or when you're raising kids. And O'Connell mentioned this on the pregame show right in front of the game, where when the youthful vigor and the youthful nature of this young man mesh with the plan being done right, but it hadn't been done right under the cover of darkness a few times, then boom, the kid gets it. It's when I saw Ryan last night, it was like a dad off to the side hearing his son interview for a job and saying all the right things. And it was just a wry smile. Like he was just displaying how proud he was of McCarthy. So the way they treat him and the way you can tell, it'll be 10 of 10 for this quarterback, and that's not always the case. It'll be 10 of 10 for this quarterback from everybody on this team. And as we move forward, that's going to be incredibly important.
Well, my takeaway, and I'm sure you heard it, whether it was Lieber's interviews, and you mentioned you spent a bunch of time catching up with people in the locker room, the blessed access that you get after some of these victories, and just being able to converse in the small chats that kind of build the story of this team. But Lieber chatting, it was a cool piece of audio with Jordan Mason. And, I don't know how much you've conversed or chatted with Jordan Mason. That guy needs his own freaking show, by the way. It's just unbelievable, just kind of fun, similar to Hargrave. Like, you can feel that Southern vibe with Mason. Once the O-line got going, I just told those guys, get out the way. And, we were driving trucks through them lanes. And, it was fun hearing Jordan Mason and his excitement about the victory last night. But when Lieber kind of stuck him with just that final, I was going to let you go, but I got one more. JJ McCarthy, your thoughts? And Lieber kind of stated on the radio, like, his eyes lit up like a freaking Christmas tree. Like, that's my dog. That's my guy. That's my QB. Right. And you just kind of felt that emanating throughout. You heard Aaron Jones talking about, things are down, man. We just threw a freaking pick six to Nashawn Wright, former Viking. The whole thing's bad. It's prime time at Soldier Field. The weight of the crowd is on your shoulders. And he just walks into the huddle and he's like, is there any other place on earth that you would rather be right now? And guys like Aaron Jones who have that equity are like, wow, that guy changed me in that moment. It was just, that was the kind of common theme. Bad times, some really bad times, into really good times. That ebb and flow emotionally last night was fun to be a part of, even just as a Rube back here in St. Louis Park.
And the reason I bring that up initially, which in essence, off your question, would make it at this moment my A topic. Doesn't mean it's the A topic, but it's my A topic from what I witnessed up to the game at the team hotel. A pregame, and then during the game, and then after the game with JJ McCarthy. It's in all the years that I've had the privilege to call Minnesota Vikings games on the radio, I've never seen this, because Kirk had all the answers. And I don't say that flippantly or like he was arrogant, but it was easy to put a Tolstoy of plays in front of Cousins and get to exactly what you want quickly. Well, that can't possibly be the case with J.J. McCarthy. It will be, and maybe it's edging closer week by week, but you got to work through things with the inexperienced in a different way than with Cousins. Same thing with Darnold. It's the conversation we had up to last year where it really was twofold. first and foremost, those, thinking that he would fail initially, were shortchanging the acumen of the coaching staff and the skill guys around Darnold, and clearly that mattered. But the other part of it was, Sam was taken where he was taken for many reasons, but one is that he absorbs things quickly, and you can trust him with a lot.
Yeah.
And this is not saying you can't trust McCarthy with a lot, but it still is a 22-year-old second-year guy who, in essence, is a rookie in that last night was his first game. And you are raising a kid professionally. So you have to always be cognizant of the asset. Now winning the games clearly is important, but the asset for the long term is vital. And just like Caleb Williams took 68 sacks last year. Well, David Carr, when he played for the Texans, took 78 or 76. That's the most in the history of the NFL. That year ruined David Carr.
It did.
It ruined a ballyhooed career from Fresno State with the tall kid with the big arm and the smart mind. So there's so many things O'Connell and the staff have to deal with McCarthy to properly raise him. But when you get the village to support the new alpha the way they do, that makes things easier for everybody. And for me, I mean, going back to 2002, well, that's Dante Culpepper. Okay, he already had been to an NFC title game. And then you roll through players like Gus Farrat. He'd been in the league a million years. Kelly Holcomb. All right, then they draft Christian Ponder. Well, he doesn't start his rookie year. That's Donovan McNabb. But when Ponder came in, it's, of course, they supported him, and of course, they wanted to win with him. But I didn't get the feel around that young quarterback,
right,
like I do with JJ. It's just that this is, I mean, it's old dogs like when they're taught new tricks, and getting to know McCarthy and getting to know people around him and what they say about him. That this is, in a quarter century of doing this, I've never seen anything like this. And being a dad and being somebody who cares about the team and being somebody who's getting to know JJ quite well, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing, win or lose.
It is. And, going down the kind of likening this and the idea or the analogy of being a dad, I wonder, and this is pure projection. You can tell me if I'm out of my mind with this, but the way that the first three quarters went, and then you see what happens in the fourth. There are a lot of factors involved. Jordan Mason starts getting moving with that juice and that shiftiness and that vision. That was a big factor. O-line, Justin School, frankly, I was ready for him to not be on the team at halftime. I thought there was a change or an adjustment that took place. Interested to know how that went.
No, you got to change your face on that because he came up big in the second half.
I think he did, and so I'm trying to change my face. I'm doing what I can. But the dad angle, I do wonder if the head coach was ever able to open a vein. Like, I wonder how much was going on in the headset early in the game versus what was going on in the headset later in the game. And I just think about that where, as a dad, like, I'm just on Stella and Ava about here's how you do this, here's how you do that. You got to think about this, you got to think about that. And I'm watching a 10-year-old's head spinning. And then the pleasure of just stepping back and just watching them kind of do it on their own to some spect, or just lowering my voice and allowing them to think their way through it. Yeah. I just wonder if there was, how much managing there was from the coach in the first half versus in the fourth quarter when things were clicking and everything just worked. I'd just be curious to know how the head coach approaches that debut in that spot and how hands-on and how hands-off he may have been at certain points throughout that game.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it's going to play into something a topic I broach with the head coach about 25 minutes from now. We're going to start with the importance of complementary football because that's what it was last night.
Oh yeah,
there's an underrated facet, and maybe I'm wrong here, and O'Connell's not afraid to take me deep if I'm wrong, but through my binoculars, I caught something on the bench with Josh Metellus that I think matters, and I don't think anybody's mentioned it, and I might be out to lunch here, and I guess we'll find out in about 35 minutes. But from there, it's the Bears and this plays exactly into what you said about calling the game. Because I heard a lot from the coaches and Kevin O'Connell last week, and even used it in the pregame interview before last night's kickoff about unscouted looks. And Kevin O'Connell at a press conference last week said something that was fascinating to me because I'd never heard it. And he said week one, quite often, fundamentals trump scheme and system. And really a majority of the game is about unscouted looks. So the atopic example would be, I think it was 2015 or 2016 Monday Night Football at San Francisco, the Jim Tom Sula trick, where nobody had any idea what to expect from Colin Kaepernick, these tight ends and defensive line coach Jim Tom Sula, who's now a head coach. I mean, well, they ran it basically every single play. And Zimmer's defense couldn't stop it. All right. A lot of unscouted looks that clearly, the team was not prepared for, a fair amount of them, and they lost the game. Well, the Niners the next week now have scouted looks when they go to Pittsburgh. And I think the Steelers ran up 50 on them and beat them by 30. And San Francisco didn't win many games that year. Why? Because there's film. There are takes and tells and tendencies and scouted looks. Off what you said, O'Connell said something after the game last night about when the Bears scratched their two starting corners, Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson. And Kyler, from what I understand, was a relatively late scratch. There may have been a time early Monday they thought he was going to play. But the unscouted looks for which O'Connell and the group prepared defensively changed. And it took them a while to get around that. And I think that plays into what you're talking about, because with the left tackle Justin School, who, I don't know if he's going to play next week, but I mean, he's a short timer, and yes, there were some massive problems early in the game. But if you look back at each and every touchdown, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He was moving Montez Sweat and Odangbo and another guy on these Mason running plays. So he like O'Connell would say, he was giving his best when his best was required. But, let's also keep in context that it was, his first start for the team and sixth start in the last couple of years. So that flipped right there. And I think it plays into the way the game was diagrammed and called. But when it comes to McCarthy, well, O'Connell, I mean, I'm not going to bring this up with Kevin because he doesn't like talking about himself, and I understand. But O'Connell did a number on Ben Johnson and that group last night when it mattered. Like on the Aaron Jones touchdown, that they're moving guys around and he gets it so it's like this. All right, Tremaine Edmonds, the tall kid with the long arms who can run. That we all know he can run, but so can Aaron Jones. So I'm going to find a way to make you single cover him with a lot of space. And he couldn't do it. So that is a major offensive move by Kevin O'Connell, and clearly it worked. And then you get to what you guys were talking about with that kickoff situation with Ty Chandler. That's a move that is antithetical to moves in archaic fashion, the way National Football League people generally look at things. I mean, like Ty Chandler was almost surprised that he was asked to come out of the end zone 8 yards deep.
Yeah.
That right there was a key moment. But, what really changed this game, in the second half is the Bears defense got really, really tired. And I'm not going to get after their conditioning team or, whomever prepares them for a season, but they were dominating the time of possession. And as it started to even, when you watch their players, specifically during the TV timeouts, I mean, you had hands on knees, you had guys bending over, guys not tapping out, but being subbed a lot. Why? Yeah. Because they were tired. And the Vikings didn't get tired. They just kept churning away and took advantage in totality of this game of a team that got tired. It was a rough night last night for Ben Johnson. I'm just going to be straight with you here, man. I mean, it's that fourth down that he went for early in the game and didn't get.
Oh, yeah.
That is absolutely putting valor as the better part of discretion. It was it probably is, I need to teach my guys that we can take what we want when we want it. All right. And I like that mentality moving forward year after year. But he needed that field goal last night like he needed to breathe. And secondly, if you know Cairo Santos can't kick the ball out of the end zone, why do you have him kick the ball to the end zone? I mean, that was ridiculous. It's Cairo Santos does not have one of the strongest legs in the NFL. Shoot, he missed from 50 last night.
Yep.
But it was a long shot. He could kick it out of the end zone in the first place. Yet they still did it. So it almost, stupid as it may sound, made the most sense to kick the ball out of bounds and just let the Vikings have it at the 40, because then you don't flip over below the 2-minute warning.
Right. Keep the clock.
I thought that was a little bit of a dicey decision. But they had 11 penalties also. And, when you are oft penalized and it's consistent during the entire game, it's some of that comes back to coaching, because they're not playing fast and they're just not prepared for certain moments. And I haven't watched Ben Johnson's press conference back yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of put that on him and his staff. Generally speaking, coaches do that. But their special teams, the Bears special teams was bad last night. The second-year Iowa punter, I mean, he's super talented and he had a fantastic year last year. But it's the nuance and the details of these close games really, really matter. And his final punt, he outkicked his coverage by 15 yards. And Miles Price was able to get it with a 15-yard run before anybody was close to him. Well, that's a mistake. That's just a mistake by the punter that has to come back to the coaching staff. So they were down some key players last night, in fairness. He had to attach Loveland and or Kmet to Braxton Jones a lot of the game because Grenard was opposite him pretty much every play or most plays, and Grenard murdered him last year. So that took one of his guys out of patterns. I understand all of that. But they finally here with Caleb Williams, and I'm not going to put this on the coach because Caleb went under center and turned his back on the defense and did the best he could with that play action game that, again, they're starting from A with him, trying to get all the way to Z. And I was impressed by the voluminous nature or the repetitive nature where they kept having Caleb go under center and execute play action because we have to have this. And they did it time and time again. So that's cool. But one thing I noticed about Caleb Williams last year that if I was a Bears fan, it would bug me, and it reared its head last night, is my man can be protected, bouncing around in the pocket. I can't recall a quarterback misfiring to wide open guys as much as Caleb Williams does. I mean, he'll get passes in there in tight quarters with these fastballs, and there'll be completions. But when guys are wide open, it's almost like he freaks out and he can't do it right. And Cole Kmet bailed him out on that one-hander. But he missed DJ Moore a couple of times where he was wide open. So all of that played into the Vikings' victory for sure.
No, I love that. What I'd like to do now, I want to pause, and then so I'll get us to break. And then when we come back, I want to hit you with something specifically with our defense, because I think you hit on something from a conditioning standpoint with their guys. But in a realm where we talked about projections for months, and now we finally get to see it in a game, something jumped off the map to me with our defensive front that I'm just pumped about. So let's do this. PA, I'm going to jump back with you here in just a few minutes. But continuing the conversation now, as PA is at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, I'm back here staring through the glass at Brett Blakemore in St. Louis Park. But at 11 o'clock, the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, I mean, how cool is this? The day after a freaking Vikings game, a primetime thriller at Soldier Field, we're going to actually get to hear from the coach. So really excited to see what KO has to say to PA to kick off the 11 a.m. hour. But more on this PA at TCO, yours truly in St. Louis Park. It's 9 to noon, continuing on the Fan.
Fan.
Back to pass. Hey, Zach, they finally nearly sacked Caleb Williams. Javon Hargrave, welcome to the purple and gold. That's his first sack wearing the colors, and it's going to be a loss of 8, making it 2nd and 18.
Welcome back to 9 to noon. And this is going to be a real short segment because we're trying to time things up perfectly for Kevin O'Connell, who's going to join PA down at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center in Eagan. The host is with me now. PA, this is real simple stuff here in a short segment, and I just have to be a rube. It popped up. I went from doom scrolling to I don't know what the boom scrolling after things turn around. But Nick Olson, who does some work, I think zone coverage and some other stuff, he's popped up in my feed, does terrific work following the purple.
Yeah, he does.
And he hit me and the X verse with this. Javon Hargrave recorded 7 pressures last night, tied for most among interior D-line. Jonathan Allen recorded 6, tied for second most, so 7 and 6. For context, the starting 2 interior D linemen last season, that would have been Harrison Phillips and Jonathan Bullard, they combined for 21 pressures all of last season. So we got 13 from our 2 new guys. So just in Rube-like fashion over the next 90 seconds or so, I just needed to say, in things that I wanted to see come to fruition and as good a camp as Javon Hargrave had, for that to show up and blow up what the Bears were trying to do in a big way in primetime week 1, we got it, man. The 2 sacks, a couple of TFLs, Allen. I mean, the thrust from the interior, it's there, it's real, and it was freaking awesome.
Right, and they both barely missed sacks. I can't remember the quarter, but Allen got through.
Oh, he was in the grasp, yeah.
Yeah, he had him. And Caleb Williams, actually, I mean, he's a bigger guy, and he's tough to bring down when you have him, and that's kind of been the book on in the last year and change. But then after that, Hargrave kind of had dead aim at him. The big guys can run. It's when you have big guys who can run and little guys who can hit. I've just heard that for forever in the National Football League, and those big guys can run. So I have an obsession. I have an early week obsession where I'm starting to watch back these plays via the All 22, and I'm just fascinated by this Aaron Jones touchdown and what they had to do to get a linebacker on Aaron Jones to run with him for 30 for 30 yards. I mean, it was just a masterpiece with McCarthy's eyes, where people were going, and O'Connell and his guys. I mean, he's the reigning coach of the year, so we're not breaking news here, but he and those guys, they're just so good at what they do with what they have.
Yeah. And it's really the anatomy of the play as he digs into it. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's pause and bring you back in because you'll be with the coach here in a handful of minutes, and maybe that play from Aaron Jones will come up. And as part of that, we do it. And it's a little different because I'm in St. Louis Park and PA is at TCO. But we do a talk back of the day from one of you, the listeners, via the free iHeartRadio app. Hit the microphone, give us up to your best 30 seconds, specifically with a question for the head coach. And as KO sits down with PA next segment, I'm going to sift through these and I'll have one at my fingertips ready to rock next segment. So free iHeartRadio app, get those talkbacks in now, and we'll play back one of them for the coach. Please use your name and where you're from, by the way, so we can give you some credit for it. But the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, a day after the Vikings victory at Chicago, lots of things to discuss for your 1-0 Vikings. That's going to kick off the final hour next on The Fan.